Hey everyone, it's Professor Clark, and for our last lecture on Chapter 3, hooray, we're coming to the end of Chapter 3. So much progress is being made. We're going to go over verbal aspect in the past tense. Now, this is one of those things that a lot of American students are like, oh yeah, I totally get that. They're overwhelmed with horror, fear, and confusion when faced with clock time, but they know so little that they just are blasé about verbal aspect in the past tense, or verbal aspect in general. Well, I'm here to tell you that clock time is just дело техники, as we say in Russian. It's just a matter of technique. You just have to memorize a few things. Verbal aspect in the past tense is way harder. So with that happy thought, let's jump into it. On slide 2 of the PowerPoint, I have a chart with a quick overview of uses of the imperfective versus uses of the perfective. And remember, imperfective is incomplete action or ongoing action, and perfective indicates completed action. And here we have some examples of when you use them. So for the imperfective, you use that to indicate action or process, as in, что ты делала вчера? Я читала «Войну и мир». What did you do yesterday, or what were you doing yesterday? I was reading War and Peace. And what you're talking about is the action you were engaged in or the process you were engaged in. There's no indication of a result. Whereas if you use the perfective, you're indicating result or success. Я прочитала «Войну и мир». I finished reading War and Peace. We also use the imperfective when we want to indicate repetition or long duration of action. So, я часто читала. I used to read often. Я долго читала. I read for a long time. As opposed to the perfective, which is used to indicate short duration. Я немножко почитала. I read for a little bit. We also use the imperfective when we want to indicate simultaneous actions. As in, я читала книгу и слушала музыку. I was reading a book and listening to music simultaneously. Versus consecutive actions, which are indicated by the perfective. Я встал, принял душ, позавтракал и пошел на занятия. I got up, took a shower, had breakfast, and went to class. So now let's start talking about when to use the imperfective in the past tense. One way we use the imperfective in the past tense is when we're describing how we spent our time, as in, вчера я писала эссе. Yesterday I was writing an essay, or yesterday I worked on an essay. And you're not indicating that you finished anything, you're just saying this is how you spent your time, this is what you were doing. We also use the imperfective when we want to indicate how long we spent doing something, or we want to emphasize that we did something over a long duration. For instance, вчера я весь день писала эссе. I was writing the essay or working on the essay all day yesterday. We also use the imperfective when describing repeated action. Я писала каждый день. I wrote every day, repeated action. We also use it in the equivalent of the English construction, I used to do something. And in that case, it's frequently included with the adverb раньше, earlier. So, for instance, я раньше много писала. I used to write a lot, with раньше meaning earlier, indicating that you don't do it anymore. Or, я в детстве много писала. I wrote a lot in childhood. I used to write a lot in childhood. I used to write a lot when I was a child. Another way we use the imperfective in the past tense is the equivalent of the English sentence, have you ever done something? And that frequently goes with the word когда-нибудь, ever. So, ты когда-нибудь читал «Войну и мир»? Have you ever read War and Peace? We also use the imperfective to indicate an attempt with no indication that we succeeded. We're just saying that we attempted something. So, я поступал в университет. I applied to college. Я сдавал экзамен. I took the exam. We're not saying whether we got into college or we passed the exam. We're just saying that we applied to college and we took the exam. And then we also use the imperfective to indicate simultaneous actions. So, я шел на занятия и слушал музыку. I was walking to class and listening to music. And some keywords that often indicate that you need to use the imperfective are много, a lot, часто, often, иногда, sometimes, редко, rarely, долго, for a long time, пока, while, одновременно, simultaneously, раньше, earlier, with this meaning of used to do something, and когда-нибудь, ever. So if that's when to use the imperfective in the past tense, when are some instances when we use the perfective in the past tense? Since the perfective indicates result, we use it to describe something that we've accomplished. For example, вчера я написала эссе. I wrote the essay yesterday and I finished it. Я купила хлеб. I bought bread. I didn't just go shopping for bread, I actually acquired some bread. We also use it to emphasize short duration. Я быстренько написала эссе. I quickly wrote the essay. We use it to emphasize success. Я поступил в университет. I got into college. Я сдал экзамен. I passed the exam. And to describe consecutive actions. So, я написала эссе, распечатала и побежала на занятия. I wrote the essay, printed it off, and ran to class. And some keywords that often indicate that you need to use the perfective are сразу, immediately, быстро, quickly, вдруг, suddenly, and только что, I just did something. Только что means just in the sense of you just did something. Finally, let's talk about negation and aspect in the past tense. If you use не plus an imperfective verb, if you negate an imperfective verb, it means you never tried. And so you could say, я никогда не читал «Войну и мир». I've never read War and Peace. If you use никогда plus a past tense verb, you're normally going to use an imperfective because you never did something, you never even attempted it. Or, я не писал эссе. I didn't work on the paper at all. Я не поступала в университет. I didn't apply to college. Я не сдавала экзамен. I didn't take the exam. But if you negate a perfective verb in the past, it means that you tried and failed. So, я не прочитал «Войну и мир». I didn't finish reading War and Peace. I was reading it, but I never got to the end. Я не написал эссе. I didn't finish writing the paper. Maybe I started it, but I didn't finish it. Я не поступила в университет. I didn't get into college. I applied, but I didn't get accepted. Я не сдала экзамен. I didn't pass the exam. I took it, but I didn't pass. And so there is a quick overview of verbal aspect in the past tense. It probably seems much simpler to you than it really is. At least I hope so. It's sort of broken up for you into little bite-sized chunks that make it seem much easier than it actually is to use, but that's okay. Start working with these examples and memorizing some of these keywords and key phrases, and it will start to make sense to you. You will start to get a feel for when to use it. Of course, the best way to get a feel for when to use it is to expose yourself to authentic materials. So reading, watching TV, watching movies, listening to songs, that kind of stuff, and of course, talking to people. So this is a great time to start reading little authentic texts, or if that seems too difficult, you can watch Russian language movies or Russian language TV shows with subtitles. You can stream Russian radio. For example, if you get Radio Garden, which is a free website, radiogarden.com, you can stream radio from all over the world for free, and you can stream Russian radio and listen to talk radio. You can listen to songs. Songs are very helpful, and just start picking up a feel for how people use this. So there we go. We've finished up Chapter 3, so congratulations on that. And let's look forward to Chapter 4.